Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday Meditation, The Joy of Sitting. This hour is dedicated to meditation and mindfulness practice and the ongoing conversation that includes your questions and concerns about both. Tonight, I have a bit of a program laid out, but before we dive into it, I am inviting each of you to come and visit my website, which is artofconnectionnow.com. Art of Connection Now is as one word, artofconnectionnow.com. When you come to my website, there is an invitation to enroll in a class. It is the daily practice of loving kindness. In terms of developing meditation and mindfulness practice, it is very helpful to have a daily practice. And the daily practice of loving kindness assists you in many ways, whether you're someone who plans to grow for your entire life, which I believe is step 10 of the 12 steps, or people that are dealing with issues, patterns that are very difficult to break. Having a daily practice, like the daily practice of loving kindness, gives you ample opportunities for contemplation, meditations, processing emotions, and several other practices that are a part of this course. Please let me know if you would like to chat with me personally before you dive into it. And I can be reached through my email, which is info@mark-pelter.com. So let's go ahead and dive into tonight. If you have other questions about the daily practice of loving kindness course, please let me know, and I'll attempt to answer your questions in this context. If it's more personal, then we'll need to set up a time so that we can dive into that pool. For tonight, the program that I have designed for this evening starts with taking a look at what mindfulness is. What is it? What does it do? How does it help? What is it for? After that, we will do our opening meditation, which is called, I call it the spaciousness meditation, because in this meditation, we look at the space that our thoughts and emotions arise within. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Following that, we will take a look at emotional needs and how you know that they're here, how they call to you, and how to nurture them, different parts of that. Afterward, we will do a heart centering meditation that has the opening part of it is for releasing stress and tension. And then following that, we go right into the heart and to experience your heart from the inside. Afterward, we will take a look at processing emotions, what happens when we get emotionally stuck, and how to get unstuck. And then following that, we will do a meditation that is for processing unpleasant emotions. And we'll get into that in just a few minutes. And then we'll close our evening with the Beauty Way prayer from the Native American Church. And I'm waving back to Healing to Whole. Great to see you here this evening. So let's go ahead and get started, unless there are any questions or concerns that you would like to include in tonight's segment. At any time, please feel free to make a comment and I will include that. So let's take a look at mindfulness practice. What is it? Why is it here? What is it good for? Well, it's very valuable. Oh, and Healing to Whole says that the volume is good. That's always great to hear. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and also for letting me know that information. So mindfulness practice really comes out of both Hinduism and also Buddhism, but the truth is it's part of all of the great traditions. Mindfulness practice is effort that we make to give our attention to a particular focus. So let's say if someone is a woodworker and they do real high quality and woodworking, they're focusing their attention and they also have knowledge about how to create whatever they're crafting. They're, unless it's a certain type of art, most artists have a pretty good idea of what they're creating. And certainly someone that does fine woodwork, they have a pretty good sense of what they're making. If they're making a rocking chair, they have a pretty good sense of what all of the parts are going to be. And they craft each part accordingly. So this focus of attention is given to a specific project. That's that type of mindfulness. Now, when we're walking along the sidewalk, it's always a good idea to notice if the sidewalk is smooth or rough, or if the surface changes so that you don't trip and fall. That's another type of mindfulness. In general, the type of mindfulness that we're talking about this evening, and for both deep inner work and spiritual work, involves a specific other outcome. And part of the outcome is becoming more and more aware of how your thoughts and emotions play off of one another. As we dig deeper into mindfulness, as we examine ourselves, then we have to be honest about certain things, which is part of the transparency that we get to with mindfulness is the life experience that you feel. You have sensitivities. And if you're watching a movie and everyone in the movie industry did everything according to the way it's meant to be done, then there are going to be certain feelings in the general population of a certain type relating to certain events. Well, your life isn't exactly a movie, it's much more personal than that. But at the same time, as we study mindfulness and practice mindfulness, we come to see that we have sensitivities and we get more and more honest about our sensitivities. In conversation, part of how our sensitivities get stimulated, they get touched in a certain way, is the tone and manner of delivery. Was it sudden? Was it abrupt? Was it calm and soothing? What form of communication was it? Were the volumes in the conversation loud, or were the volumes, audible volumes, were they soft? Were they audible? Were they more inner type of things, like when someone eats something and they really enjoy it and they might say, hopefully that means it was good and that they didn't bite on something that they shouldn't have bit on. So we have these sensitivities, and with mindfulness, we come to see how our sensitivities get stimulated. And also, at what point is that stimulation difficult to really experience? And who is making it difficult? Is it difficult because this is the type of sensitivity that you have that you don't prefer for it to get to this level? So there, with mindfulness practice, little by little, we recognize that it's our sensitivities are your sensitivities are your possession, and the events in our outside world will at times stimulate that. So a friend of mine was asking me a couple of weeks ago, and of course that got my brain working on it and really looking to see how do you answer that question. This friend asked me, how do you define impact? So earlier in my life, I studied to be an electronic engineer and changed majors at a certain point because of other interests in other pursuits. But if we look at, for example, a light switch, that the light switch, there's, of course, electricity, and there has to be enough electricity in the wires to make the light bulb turn on. That's a threshold contact. And so if we look at our sensitivities, our human sensitivities, and that there's different thresholds. One form of threshold is lighter than a feather, barely feelable, if even feelable. But little by little, the intensity and the pressure of that impact make us, let's see, stimulate our sensitivities beyond the threshold. And at what point is it more than we care to experience? And how do we express that? How do we honor our needs and make decisions that aren't about other people? Also, one part of mindfulness practice is to be more aware, aware of the sounds in the room that are audible, aware of the feeling in the room. Does it feel peaceful? Does it feel chaotic? How does it feel? So mindfulness practice, we open our mind, we open our heart, we focus on our sensitivities and our experience. And little by little, we learn to be present moment to moment with life. Now, that doesn't have to be 24/7. When you're training with mindfulness practice, you might effort to have it continuously. And then after the training period, whatever that is, there may be the usual distractions because even mindfulness practice is not an addiction, and yet it becomes a way of life because when your senses are open to your experience, it's enriching. And only you can give this form of richness to yourself. And so, as we train with mindfulness, it becomes a gift that you give to yourself. And yet, at the same time, everyone benefits. So, maybe that's enough said about mindfulness practice for the moment. I do want to wave back to Priyadarshi _vibes. Thank you for being here this evening. So let's go ahead and we're going to do our opening meditation for the evening. This meditation I call the spaciousness meditation because we'll be focused on the space that our thoughts and emotions arise within. And this meditation is inspired by a meditation practice that's part of Soto Zen. Soto Zen is a form of Zen Buddhism in Japan, and the Zen practice originated in Japan, but it was kind of a carryover as Buddhism traveled from India to China. In China, it was called Chan Buddhism. And then it traveled from China to Japan. And the same ideograms, these are like also called glyphs, these alphabets that are part of their language, these word forms, is the word Chan, that same form is said as Zen in Japanese. So The Zen practice, it's fair to say, was a carryover of Chan Buddhism into Japan. And the three major schools of Zen Buddhism in Japan, the one that's the most popular is Rinzai, which uses paradoxes like what is the sound of one hand clapping? And there are other ones that are much more eloquent than that. The second most popular form of Buddhism in Japan is Soto Zen. So in Rinzai, they use these paradoxes that aren't exactly arbitrary, uh, but it's not about you as a person per se. You're trying to resolve this, your curiosity, like from this question, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Soto Zen says your life is the paradox. How do you find peace with that? So this meditation in Japanese is, the word is shikantaza, which means just sitting. So I'm calling it the spaciousness meditation. So let's go ahead and do this meditation and not just talk about it and see where we go. It's always a good practice before meditation to adjust the way that your body is resting on the surface it's resting. To just reposition the body, your body, on the surface that your body's resting. And very gently allowing your eyelids to drift downward until they do close. And taking a slow and gentle deep breath in and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. And allowing your breath to flow at its own natural rhythm. The breath form that is often used with meditation is called diaphragmatic breathing. So as you breathe, bring the very center of the focus of your attention to the way that your shoulders, chest, and belly wall expand on your inhalations and contract on your exhalations. And as you experience the way that your body movement accommodates your breath and breathing, also noticing the warmth and the coolness of your breath. And also noticing the moist and the dryness of your breath. And noticing the depth and the shallowness of your breath. And as you experience your breath and breathing, also noticing the beating of your heart and your pulse that travels throughout your whole being. Allowing yourself to be aware of your breath, the beating of your heart, your pulse, and also beginning to notice your thoughts and emotions, noticing how they come and go or come and stay. They may linger, there may be fantasies, and noticing the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within. And as you remain aware of your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, also beginning to notice this gentle calm that's right here with you, and softening into this calm. And as you remain aware of your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, also allow yourself to be aware of your calm. And as you soften into your calm, notice that it makes it easier to be aware of your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and this calm that's always right here with you, and softening that much more deeply into your calm, softening your belly wall and your shoulders. And as you soften more deeply into your calm, notice the shift that it brings you into in your awareness of your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within as they come and go or come and stay, as they linger, as they may turn into fantasies, the space that even your fantasies occupy. Continuing to be aware of your breath and breathing, the beating of your heart and your pulse, the space that your thoughts and emotions arise within, and this calm, your calm, and softening that much more deeply into this calm that's always right here, waiting for you. And as you soften into it, gently taking another moment to unhook and float and drift within your calm. And taking another slow and gentle deep breath in, and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. Slowly beginning to move your fingers and your toes, gently stretching your hands and your feet, slowly moving your wrists and your ankles, gently shrugging your shoulders and stretching your back and your neck and your arms and your legs. And when you're ready, slowly let your eyes come back open. Notice if the room and space around you seems a little different than before, and if you feel a little different than you did. If there is a difference, and you're enjoying this difference or curious about it, please soften into it and recognize that this is a gift that you've given to yourself. If you have further questions about anything that we're doing here tonight, please write a comment, or if it's too personal, please get in touch with me at my email address, info@mark-pelter.com. So that's our opening talk and opening meditation. Let's dive a little deeper. One of the parts of life that can be very off-putting if we don't understand it is our emotional needs. Many times we don't really become aware of what our emotional needs are because we have perhaps judgments of others. They should have done this, they shouldn't have done that. Why did they do this? Why didn't they do that? And when we start to take a look through mindfulness about our sensitivities, where in your body do you feel these sensitivities? And maybe you ask yourself the question, why would this be surfacing within me? Why would I have this feeling now? And at times, life can be very lonely. It may be very difficult to find someone that you vibe with that feels like a good enough person that we can connect with. And also, in those moments, we may have feelings, unpleasant feelings. And then what do we do with these? So, part of mindfulness practice is learning how to open your mind and your heart to all of you, not just the part of you that feels pleasant feelings, and also the part that feels unpleasant feelings. And some of your feelings are like attention grabbers. Why would it surface? What does it want you to bring your attention to? So as you start to ask yourself the questions, your questions, see what answers you get. And if some of the answers reveal that you have an emotional need, maybe you have the emotional need for a friend, for someone close, for time in nature, for meditation, whatever it may be for you. As you come to understand your emotional needs, then little by little, it isn't just a question of what to do about it, but little by little, you find out what really nurtures it. So, feeling your feelings is part of what nurtures your emotional need. And that may be much more difficult than it is to say it, because some of the feelings that you may have are uncomfortable. So, part of meditation and mindfulness practice, little by little, is to help us to come back home to all of our awareness, to all of our sensitivities, to all of our feelings, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. That doesn't mean we have to act them out. And it also doesn't mean that we have to stuff it. Stuffing your feelings and bottling them up inside is a living hell. And you don't have to do that, especially if you're willing to feel what you feel and take time to feel your feelings by bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to your feelings, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, without finding fault. At the core of it, whose sensitivities are they? And then what? What do you do about that? finding a way to nurture your emotional needs is very helpful. So let's take a couple of moments now for our next meditation. This is the middle meditation of the evening, and it starts off with some stress and tension release and is followed by a journey into your heart and what you find there. So once again, please reposition your body on the surface that your body's resting. And when you're ready, slowly and gently beginning to let your eyelids drift downward until they do close. Beginning to scan, to feel on the inside of your being from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. Looking for those locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, whether they're caused by anxieties, worries, goals that you're not sure how to meet your deadlines, whatever their source may be. Notice where they reside within your being. And giving these locations and content a very warm, tender, nurturing, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. Like giving yourself a hug on the inside of your being. And tightening your embrace just a little bit more in order to give these locations and content a very open-hearted, full-hearted, warm, tender, nurturing, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. And softening your embrace and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. And allowing this feeling of release to flow through. And allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release. And softening into this experience of release. Scanning once again from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, looking for those locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, or any combinations thereof, no matter how large or how small. And this time, giving these locations and content the gentlest, warm, tender, nurturing, loving, inclusive, and connecting embrace. And softening and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. And allowing this feeling of release to flow throughout your whole being. and allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release. And softening into this experience of release. Scanning one more time from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, looking for those locations and content where your stress, tension, pain, and discomforts reside, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual, or any combinations thereof, or how small. And this time, bringing the gentlest of touch, whisper soft, barely touching the fringes of these places with a warm, tender, nurturing, loving, inclusive, and connecting contact. And softening and releasing. Gently bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to this feeling of release. And allowing this feeling of release to flow throughout your entire being. And allowing all of your senses to register this experience of release. And softening into this experience of release. And bringing the very center of the focus of your attention to the dull ache in your heart, the doorway in. And you know this dull ache from many losses that you've experienced throughout your life, whether they were large or small. And allowing yourself to lean backward into this dull ache and leaning back more and more and more until you somewhat plop inside your own heart. And allowing all of your senses to register the experience of being on the inside of your heart. And noticing the place within your heart that your love always arises from, whether your love is for a person, a place, a thing, a two-legged, a four-legged, a no-legged, whether it's for someone on this plane of existence or any other. Your love always arises from this place. And allowing your love to flow through you and around you. And allowing all of your senses to register this pure love that lives within you. And softening into your pure love and allowing it to saturate your being. noticing some of the essences of love that live within your love, like caring and kindness, and also this incredible vibration of connection that lives within your love. And you know what it feels like to connect with someone, with anyone, with anything, and also to want to connect when it isn't possible. And allowing this vibration of connection, your vibration of connection, to flow through you and around you. Noticing the want, need, desire, appetite, this longing to connect. And as you allow this vibration of connection, your vibration of connection to flow through you and around you, allowing all of your senses to register this pure connection that lives within you. And softening into your pure connection and allowing it to saturate your entire being. Perhaps feeling that sense of fulfillment, to experience your vibration of connection, your pure connection that's always here. And taking just another moment to unhook and float and drift within your incredible experience of pure connection. Taking another slow and gentle deep breath in and gently releasing this breath and allowing your breath to find its own natural rhythm once again, free of control. Slowly beginning to move your fingers and your toes, gently stretching your hands and your feet, slowly moving your wrists and your ankles, gently shrugging your shoulders and stretching your back and your neck and your arms and your legs. And when you're ready, slowly let your eyes come back open and notice if the room seems a little different than before, and if you feel a little different than you did. If there is a difference and you're enjoying the difference, please soften into it and recognize that this is the gift that you've given to yourself. Just take a moment to let it in. And I'm waving back to LN2155357. Thank you for being here tonight. And waving back to Fit Pulse 5. Thank you for being here. And Cecilia, I'm sorry it took a moment for me to let you in. Glad to see you there. So this program, our Monday meditation, the Joy of Sitting Hour, every week on Monday goes from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. And it's here on Instagram Live and also on Zoom, as well as in the social media platform Clubhouse. So it's a joy to see all of you this evening. And if you do have any questions or concerns that you would like for us to address this evening, please write a comment so that I can know, include that in our meeting. So let's see. Let's talk about stuck emotions. So let's just create a scenario. Let's say you're someplace and maybe you're around some people that you know, or maybe you don't know them, but an event happens and you took it personally and you maybe stuffed it because maybe it was at work and you didn't want to say something that would be off putting and create a rift in your relationship. But then what do you do with these feelings? They don't just go away on their own. And if you harden off around them, that makes you sick. It makes your life at least a localized hell realm for however long that lasts. And the person that hurts the most is you, and you don't deserve that. Events happen. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel what you feel, but what you do with your feelings makes a difference. And the person that makes the greatest difference to is you. So, for those of you that are interested, for example, in the daily practice of loving kindness, there is something we're going to do here in just a minute, a form of processing your unpleasant emotions. And so this practice is extremely helpful because it gives you some way to move this energy. One of my teachers who has departed this plane of existence, he was an incredible person. His name was Jack Schwartz, and he was an Auschwitz survivor. He was called the Yogi of the West by the Menninger Foundation in their initial study way back when of stress and stress management. And Jack had a center called the Alethea Heart Center for many years. And one of the things that he liked to do is to play with words. So what he said about emotions is that it's energy in motion. So he played with words like that. So if you stop energy from being in motion, what happens? And our feelings are part of what makes us human beings. And so if you don't feel them, what happens? Well, it dampens your ability to appreciate your life. And life is not a dress rehearsal. This is the main show. And granted, we get to craft it as we move through our lifetime. But an emotional energy can help feed you with what you need at every level of growth. If this is a growth lifetime for you, every level of growth, maybe just even to get past whatever was in the past. There's that much growth, every part of it. So this method that we're going to use in the ancient way, ancient word, which goes back to Tibetan Buddhism, is called Tonglen, which means giving and receiving. So this isn't about not feeling your feelings. This is a way to give yourself the gift to feel what you feel. So my way of seeing it is that our emotions are a gift that's part of this life experience. Of course, that includes pleasant emotions, and of course, it also includes unpleasant emotions. You got the whole gift, nothing was held back. And now the hardest part is to receive it. And I say it's the hardest part because, of course, you don't want to hurt, but all of your sensitivities add to the richness of life. And yes, there are uncomfortable parts. Yes, there are parts of life that make us laugh and make us cry. And sometimes we have a lot of feelings. Sometimes they go into anger or rage. And that's kind of a push away, isn't it? One else wrong because our feelings were so large that we didn't know what to do with them. And so it's a reaction. We push away what we perceive as the cause of our feelings. But the truth is, at the core of our feelings are our sensitivities. And if we're going to feel it, then what? So that then what part is we take the time to feel it. And that's respecting ourselves, that we have the right to feel our feelings. And like St. Francis said, you can chain and shackle my body to the wall, but you can never take my freedom from me. So part of our freedom is to feel all of our feelings, pleasant and unpleasant. So that's kind of the bad news, but it's also the good news. Because if we're able to feel all of our feelings, then we really can have a happy life that has all of it, the whole gift. So let's go ahead and not just talk about it. Let's do some of this. I call it processing unpleasant emotions. So pick the worst one from the day. Someone said something or did something or didn't say something or didn't do something that you would have preferred, and it was unpleasant. Pick the worst one. The reason we pick the worst one is that way we know you weren't making it up. That was the worst one. And if it changes, you know, hey, that worked. So that's what we're looking for. And we're willing to work for it. So that's important to say. So once again, repositioning your body on the surface that your body's resting, and very gently as you're ready, allowing your eyelids to drift downward until they do close. And on the next breath, breathing in your unpleasant emotion. You breathe them in and out when it's unpleasant anyway. Breathing in your unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of love for yourself, a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. And breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. Space to be just the way you are. Breathing in your unpleasant emotion to every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. Breathing in your unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for yourself. Continuing to breathe, leaving your eyelids closed, and considering if we had some magical device capable of measuring all of the qualities and distinctions of human emotion, of everyone on this plane of existence in this moment, even though their circumstances may be very different than yours. How many of them would measure so close to your measurement as to be indistinguishable? One other person, 10 other people, perhaps hundreds or thousands, or maybe even millions of people feeling just like you and just like me. And on the next in breath, breathing in your unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself. Breathing in your unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself. breathing in your unpleasant emotion into every pore and cell of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself. Breathing out love, kindness, compassion, caring, and connection through every cell and pore of your being as a gift of generosity and spaciousness for all of them and yourself. Continuing to breathe, leaving your eyelids closed and evaluating. Do you feel any more compassion in your mind and heart, in your being, for yourself and for others that have feelings just like you and just like me? When you're ready, slowly let your eyes come back open and notice if the room and space around you seems a little different than before, and if you feel a little different than you did. If there is a difference and you're enjoying this difference or curious about it, please soften into it and recognize that this is a gift that you've given to yourself. Just taking a moment to wave back to Cat by Steph. Cat by Steph, thank you for being here tonight. So let's see what we did tonight. We started off with our opening talk about mindfulness. What is it? What is it good for? All of that. And then we did our spaciousness meditation. Following that, we talked about emotional needs and how they get nurtured and what happens when we don't nurture them. Following that, we did our heart centering meditation, which included some stress and tension release on the front side of that, and ended with a meaningful sense of connection on the inside of that. Following that, we talked about when our emotions get stuck and who that punishes. I read something, I don't think it was from the Dalai Lama, it was someone in the Buddhist tradition that said, anger, let's see if I can remember exactly what it was now. Um, Anger is a way that we punish ourselves for being mistreated. So if you think about what happens inside of you when you go through difficult times and because you're not sure how to process your feelings, it kind of bleeds out sideways, and the emotional residue it causes in you and how you live with that toxicity until somehow it dissipates. So, following that, of course, what the remedy was, at least for tonight, is to process these unpleasant emotions so that you're not punishing yourself. And that brings us to this part of the evening that we're about to end our evening. And I really appreciate all of you for being here tonight. For those of you that liked what we did tonight and may have time tomorrow night is our Art of Connection community meeting. It's an open community, and we'll have similar conversations and practices tomorrow night. It would be a joy to see you all there as well. So, and also in the morning, Monday through Friday, is our magnificent morning meditation. If you're interested in joining here, it would be great to see you as well. So the way that we close our evening is with an adaptation of the Beauty Way prayer from the Native American Church. And in this context, the word beauty is about the beauty of nature, the awe and wonder of nature. And my go-to place with this is the Milky Way, because the Milky Way is so huge that it transcends my understanding and certainly so beautiful, right? And also its longevity is so immense that, again, it transcends my understanding. But this beauty that is the Milky Way doesn't diminish you or me. It helps us to remember that we're a part of that. So it's this type of beauty that, as we close with our beauty weight prayer, this is the beauty that we're speaking about. That doesn't mean you have to have the Milky Way as your beauty. It floats your boat there. So you pick what's right for you. And because in the Native American church we honor all of the sacred directions, as we say, like the front of you, behind you, all of that, see if you can expand your mind out, like in the Milky Way, expand your mind out to that part of the Milky Way that's in front of you or behind you or in all the great directions. Beauty that is in front of us, and beauty that is behind us, and beauty that is to the left of us, and beauty that is to the right of us, and beauty that is underneath us, and beauty that is above us, and beauty that is all around us. And it is essential to remember the beauty that is within us. Dear friends, walk in beauty. There's a word spoken in the Navajo language that means walk in beauty. That word is Ojanahaslain. Ojanahaslain, Ojanahaslain, Ojanahaslain. Dear friends, walk in beauty. And please always remember that you bring the beauty with you wherever you go. Walk in beauty. Namaste. Kasho. Many blessings. Have an amazing evening and walk in beauty. Thank you for tonight.